Okay, hello, welcome to today's webinar, Open Source Software Adoption in Japan's Pharma Industry, Key Findings from the 2024 Japan Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association, that's the JPMA, the JPMA R Usage Survey, brought to you by the R Consortium. The R Consortium supports key organizations developing R infrastructure through grants and sponsorships worldwide. Please visit our website to learn all the details and how your organization can become a member. My name is Jesse Kasman, today's moderator. You can ask questions through the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. We may answer directly in text. After the presentations are finished, we will be responding to questions that have been provided ahead of time. Ning Leng is on the webinar today to help handle the Q&A session. Ning is the Ad Interim Global Head of the Data Science Acceleration Group at Roche. Incidentally, the R Consortium hosts free educational webinars on R-related topics frequently. Ning will be one of 3 speakers a month from now on August 28th in our next webinar called Unlocking Collaborative Power with Git, GitHub CI/CD, and LLMs in Pharma, and covering details of a real-world project where more than 15 programmers from across the pharmaceutical industry united to collaborate effectively using Git and GitHub. Please register. It will be excellent, actionable information. Okay, let's get to today's webinar. Let me introduce our 2 speakers. Shinichi Hota is a statistical programmer at Sumitomo Pharma. He has 22 years of experience as a statistical programmer in pharmaceutical companies and contract research organizations, working for clinical trials and submissions in Japan, the US, China, and more. Throughout his career, he has given presentations about data analyses, SAS, R, and CDISC. I believe that's the Clinical Data Interchange Standards Consortium. Since 2020, he has been the leader of the Open Source Software Task Force in the JPMA. We also have Yuki Matsunaga with us today. Since 2017, he has held multiple positions at Novartis Pharma KK, that's in Japan, including Clinical Development Director Japan, Statistical Programmer, Medical Scientific Expert, and Medical Science Liaison. He's currently working on new drug development and retrospective studies using medical real-world data, such as electronic healthcare records and health claims data. He's also a member of the Admiral as in ophthalmology, development team, and a startup member of the Open Source Software Task Force in the JPMA. Okay, fantastic. Shinichi, I believe we're starting with you. Please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Yuki, slide please. Thank you. Today, we'd like to talk about open source software adoption in Japan's pharma industry, key findings from the 2024 JPMA R usage survey. Next slide, please. This is today's disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the speakers and do not reflect opinions of any other individual or organization. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is today's agenda. Next slide, please. First, I'd like to talk about the general background of JPMA task force. First, what is JPMA? JPMA is Japan Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Association. I think you know their Pharma or FPA in US and EU. Such association exists in Japan. That is JPMA. So the members from pharmaceutical companies doing business in Japan joins JPMA, and JPMA is conducting a lot of survey and researches. Next slide, please. And one theme of them is open source software, OSS. JPMA has a task force about OSS that is us. The members are 11 persons, including me and Yuki. And this task force established in 2022. The background of startup is because many pharmaceutical companies were interested in OSS, R, or Python. And because pharmaceutical companies consider the use of OSS used for regulatory submission, validation, internal operation, etc. Next slide, please. On the other hand, PMDA, Japanese regulatory agency, has requirement of the use of statistical analysis software. That is, PMDA do not limit the software or versions, but we think there is something to consider before using R or OSS. So next slide, please. That is the starting point of our task force. And these are the task force activities. In 2022, we released a document, Utilization and Considerations for Open Source Software. And we released a survey report, Open Source Software Usage Questionnaire report. In 2023, we released a document sharing internal case study in each company. Next slide, please. In 2024, we had the workshop that is actual status of open source software R for submission. In addition, we released a survey report, Open Source Software Usage Questionnaire report. That is a topic of today's presentation. And 2025, we have the plan to release a document, report on CSV and package management of R. Next slide, please. From this slide, Yuki, go ahead.
Yuki, you're on mute. We need to have you on mute first.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, and this is Yuki, and I will explain from this slide. From here, I'd like to share the result of OSS usage questionnaire report conducted in 2024. Again, the questionnaire was conducted by OSS task force under the data science subcommittee in JPMA. This questionnaire targets companies registered with the Data Science Expert Committee. The survey ran from mid-September to early October 2024, gathering response from 54 out of 67 companies, including both Japanese capital companies and foreign capital companies. This strong response rate provides a solid basis for understanding OSS adoption trends in the pharmaceutical companies. This slide shows the corporate capital structure of the 54 companies. Approximately 3/4 are Japanese-owned companies, and while 1/4 are foreign capital companies. The respondent profile is consistent with the previous 2022 survey, indicating stable participation and allowing for meaningful year-over-year comparisons. Next question is, are you initiating or considering using the open source software R for clinical trial related activities? Survey results show a growing interest in using R. Nearly 60% of companies already use R, and about 15 are considering or under consideration to adopt it. Compared to 2022, there is a slight increase in both current users and planning to use R. However, there is a gap between companies that are positive to introduce R and that are not. Next question is, when and what do you use R? Among companies already using R, R is used in sample size estimation, exploratory and modern analysis, and internal document creation. Use in dataset creation, QC, and e-data creation is less uncommon. And these three. In the field of statistical analysis, R was introduced from the process of preparing data not directly submit for application. On the other hand, there were many use cases in PK analysis. Next question is, please let us know the specific use case of modern analysis. As answer is free comment in Japanese, so and a brief summary is various use cases including R Shiny were mentioned, and mainly modeling and simulation and machine learning. It can be assumed that the variation of R package and the ease of application with R Shiny led to this result. Next question is, have you experienced or plan to submit TFL and or dataset created by R to regulatory authorities? About 40% companies have already submitted such materials, while about 10% plan to do so. The percentage of experience was not largely different from result in 2022. The number of companies that answered yes already submit it slightly decreased. Among companies submitting or planning to submit R created materials, the majority submit or plan submission to FDA and PMDA. Smaller population submit or plan submission to NMPA and EMA. The type of submission materials created by R involve efficacy and PK/PD analysis for clinical study reports and common technical documents. There is also experience with creating SDTM and ADAM dataset, safety analysis, and e-data files. This indicates that R is used across a broader spectrum of submission-related data and analysis tasks, especially in clinical pharmacology. Next question is, have you submitted an analysis program written in R to health authority? About 40% of companies have submitted analysis program written in R to health authority, with a slightly increase from 2022. Also, about 10% plan to submit in the future, and half of companies not have planned to submit it, even they have already used R. And this slide shows that most companies submitting or considering submission of R analysis program targeting the PMDA and FDA, with fewer companies submitting or considering submission to NMPA and EMA. Next question is, what submission program were created by R? It is mainly in clinical pharmacology, especially PK/PD analysis for CSR CTD creation. Some company also submitted SDTM and atom death set programs. And this trend aligned with question number 7. This one. And next question is, do you validate R? The content of questionnaire is slightly changed from this slide. And the results show over 50% companies have implemented validation for R. We also asked what kind of validation was conducted. And there was no tendency in validation method for R. The results show that company performed validation for R by various methods. And next question is, do you use package development by Pharmaverse? About 25% of companies using our package is developed by Pharmaverse, such as Admiral and rtables. This relatively low adoption may be due to many companies using R for internal process that do not require regulatory submission. And next question is, do you have any experience of outsourcing analysis operation in R program or R programs? Among the companies that started using R, about 30% answered that they had experience of outsourcing analysis operation in the R program. In the result in 2022, about 10% of company had experience of outsourcing. And it shows experience with outsourcing our analysis operation has increased. And next question is, who use R? R is primarily used by statistician and statistical programmer and PK/PD scientist. And these roles represent the core user of R for clinical trial data analysis. And next question is, are you starting or considering using R Shiny? Interest in R Shiny, a web application framework for R, is high among companies. Nearly 40% have already started using R Shiny, and about 2/3 are using it or considering it. And this indicates a high interest in creating web application with R Shiny. Next question is about interest in R Shiny program submissions such as FDA Pilot 4. Over 80% of companies expressed interest in using R Shiny program for additional analysis, such as those submitted in FDA Pilot 4. Many companies show interest in the R Shiny for application for approval in order to discussion with regulatory authorities. For companies not using R, common barrier includes satisfaction with SaaS capabilities, concern about validation, internal system and security issues, and training costs, and concern about acceptance by regulatory authorities. These challenges are also identified in 2022, indicating persistent hurdles to broader adoption in clinical trial activities. Training in R has increased across companies, with notable growth in internal training programs. It is from about 25% to 40%, and self-learning from 60% to 68%. External training also saw a modest rise. The proportion of companies offering no training decreased, reflecting a positive trend towards building our expertise with the pharmaceutical industry. Challenges in learning are introduced a lack of Japanese language training materials, difficulty in selecting appropriate training system and materials, and manage and package versions, and establish continuous learning opportunity for package updates. Respondents also note limited hands-on practice and time construction for learning. Okay, next move to conclusion. In conclusion, OSS, especially R, is already widely used in many Japanese pharmaceutical companies. And since the last survey, more companies have started using R. And on the other hand, many concerns still remain, such as concern about validation, training cost for our knowledge, and the concern about acceptance by regulatory authorities. JPMA plan to continue its activities to ensure that OSS is widely used in the Japanese pharmaceutical industry. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very nice presentation. I see I still have plenty of time, so maybe we can move to the Q&A session. I have some questions prepared from my side, and I would be interested to learn about your thoughts around them. So I'll start with a question regarding training. It's very interesting to see that there is significant increase in terms of internal training programs. I wonder what types of training format that you found to be mostly effective in terms of building our capability. And then also, like, how do the companies measure training success by different methods?
Okay, thank you for your questions. Based on results of questionnaire, lack of Japanese materials and lack of training specific for pharmaceutical companies seems to be one of the hurdles. So I personally think since this cannot be provided externally, so internal training may be increasing. Do you have any comments from Shinichi?
Yes. First, what is training success for the companies that is submitting our programs? The success is not delaying the submission or evaluation. That is very high hurdle, I think. But on the other hand, for the companies that is using R to improve their work internally in the company, the hurdle of success is very low if they can improve their work by R, that is success. So the measuring training success is very difficult, but I think if there is lecture style R training, I think it is very useful because now the training of R is basically based on personal training. That is our survey result.
Thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, I know like it's always hard to measure training success. And also I found it interesting to see that like people mentioned about lack of Japanese training material. And I'm hoping that with like GPT and other large language models, maybe they can help with some translation over there. Yeah. And then my next question is that it was very interesting to see that actually there are a good number of companies that already submitted R-generated outputs to the health authorities. And I wonder from JPMA discussions whether anyone shared any feedback that they received from PMDA or FDA, or do they encounter any hurdles like when they submit their R code to the health authorities?
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, we could not understand that from the result of questionnaire. Also, it is my personal opinion, but I have not heard of receiving feedback specific to R so far. And it is my understanding that PMDA does not give specific special guidance or on R. However, for example, do you plan to issue some guidance from our consortium based on result of the FDA pilot?
That's a very good question. Yeah, from our consortium pilots, we do plan to share some lesson learned. Yeah, so I think like basically those are pilot submissions. So probably like what we did will not reflect the real submission. So we are thinking maybe that's not a kind of real kind of like formal guideline. But like after finishing the pilot 4, we do plan to share some lesson learned. And I also agree with you. I feel like sometimes like no news is good news. Like yeah, I think from Roche the same that like we submit our code and there was no feedback related to our code itself, which probably means it's a good thing that the FDA or like other health authority reviewers was able to read and produce the R code. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Cool. And then I saw that like in the chat in the Q&A chat there is a question about validation, and yeah, I have the same question regarding validation. I know that you mentioned like in your survey in the free text like component, people share that they have been using different approaches for validation. I just wonder like whether you can share maybe a little bit more details on like how did people approach validation when they are using R for regulatory submissions.
Oh, thank you. And SAS is still used in many Japanese companies, and in Japan, mainly SAS is used for the development side, and R is used for QC during double programming. And based on results on the questionnaire, validation of R is different among companies, really different among companies. And I heard that some guidance may be needed for validation of R in Japan.
Thank you. Yeah, I know validation is a hot topic, and probably different companies are approaching that in a different way. Yeah. In maybe yeah, go ahead. You have.
In this is my opinion. From the survey result of our questionnaire, I thought that definition of R validation is very confusing. Some members think that it's about the CSV activities when installing R. other members think our validation is about selecting our package and installing our package. And other members think that is about double programming. So first, I think we have to clarify the definition of our validation. That is the theme of our task force in 2025. We are writing about this theme in our report in 2025. So I'd like to first clarify the definition of our validation. And next, I think we can gather the experience of our validation that is already done in some pharmaceutical companies. So that is theme of our task force in 2025.
I think that's a really, really good point. I also feel like there are different layers of validation. And for example, system validation is the kind of like similar requirement for no matter whether you use SAS or R. And specifically for R, like I think there is package validation, where I believe the R Consortium, R Validation Hub actually like did a lot of work on writing guidance around package validation. And then analysis result validation is a different story, as you mentioned, that oftentimes that like need double programming. That's kind of another layer of assurance of result accuracy. Yeah, so I agree. I feel like this is a very rich topic, and it's nice to define like what exactly we're talking about in terms of validation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. And then maybe switching the topic a little bit. I know we talk a lot about R, during the past few questions. And then like I know for this task force, like you guys are focusing on not only R, but also other open source software. And I'm curious that beyond R, whether the companies start to adopt other like modernized data tools, other open source tools, and whether people start to use some modernized, say, version control tools such as Git, whether people start to look at adopting kind of cloud computing, container, etc. Just curious, like whether you have any knowledge on that.
I heard that, for example, Git and containers have started to introduce in some companies in Japan. However, although it is my personal opinion, I have the impression that Japanese pharmaceutical company have lots of many SAS programmers, SAS-specific programmers, but few IT engineers. For these reasons, there is possibility that the introduction of modern data science tool is not progressing as expected.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I think that's interesting to learn. And also, I feel like that's probably common for many global pharma as well. Yeah, so sometimes like our infrastructure are still built on an old process. And I think like all the companies are in this journey to start adopting more modernized tools. Yeah. Cool. And then another tool that you mentioned that was very interesting is about R Shiny. And I saw that from the survey, like many people want to start considering using R Shiny even for their like regulatory submissions, etc. Yeah, can you share a little bit about the Shiny part?
Oh, thank you. This is a little bit difficult question for me, but and this is my personal opinion, but for example, if the R consortium issues some guidance based on the result of the FDA pilot, the utilization in Japan will be accelerated. I think so. I personally feel that the use of R Shiny is still at development stage in Japan.
Sounds good. Yeah. I think that's a very nice segue to my last question. I wanted to ask that, like, I know like the JPMA and our consortium have been collaborating pretty closely during the past 2 years or so. And I want to ask that what are other supportive support or guidance that like maybe the global community can help the Japan industry? I know you mentioned about like guidance around Shiny usage and maybe more learnings from the pilot with FDA, and whether there are other support that like you might want to get from the global community.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. The use of R is still development in Japan, and based on the result of the questionnaire, many companies have concern about how to ensure the quality of validation and package management. And I have also had requests to issue some guidance on this matter. So this year, we JPMA would like to create some document related to these questions from JPMA.
Sounds good. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. For FDA, I think our pilot submission result are very useful. But for PMDA does not have the system like pilot submission. So I think sharing the experience of submission to PMDA using R is very useful. I'd like to, I think some companies can, if some companies can share the experience of our submission to PMDA, that is very useful to Japanese pharmaceutical companies.
I think that's a wonderful idea. If like JPMA can help us to connect with PMBA, and kind of find opportunities for us to present our pilot submission or a real submission, I think we're more than happy to do that.
In addition, there are many concerns about our CSV. So we are creating the report right now. That is also useful, I think, about our CSV.
Well, thank you both very much. And those are all the questions from my side. I guess, Jesse, I feel like there are a couple of follow-up action items we can take. Like we can definitely connect the JPMA with, say, our validation hub, and then the submission working group. We are already connected, but we'll make sure that we share our knowledge as much as possible. Yeah.
I agree, Ning. Listening to the webinar, I think there's some nice connections we can make, and it's interesting moving forward to that we can connect and share this kind of information. I think we'll end the webinar today. I want to thank Yuki and Shinichi very much, and Ning, thanks for handling all the questions. Everyone watching, we appreciate your time and effort. And we thank you very much from the R Consortium. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.